Hello friends. In this video you will be able to see how to install Windows 11 without USB if you only have Debian Linux on your disk. The video is from the series How to Install Windows 11 Without USB, Switch from Linux, so if you are interested in another distribution, look in the video description. I wish you a pleasant viewing. I installed Debian on the entire disk with default settings, which means everything on one partition and the GNOME desktop environment. The first thing we will do here is download the Windows 11 ISO file from the official Microsoft website. On the Microsoft download page, search for and download the disk image ISO file. While we wait for the Windows ISO file to finish downloading, we will also download another tool that we will need, and that is Grub FM. In the search results for Grub FM, open the GitHub page for A1EVE Grub 2 file manager. On this page, search for the latest release and download the version in your preferred language. Generally, the language doesn't really matter because we'll be using Grub FM to boot the Windows installation. Wait for the download to complete. When the download is complete, open the Software Center, search for the gparted application, and install it. We will use gparted to free up disk space and create the partition we need for the Windows installation. After installing gparted, you will also need to install the refined boot manager. I will do this using the terminal because it is the most reliable way and works equally well on all distributions, so this is the way I recommend. I will also open the file manager to show you and explain exactly what I will do. In the address bar of the file manager, just type / and press enter. In this way, I open the root directory, where I will open the boot folder, with the mounted EFI folder with the system boot files is. The EFI folder is protected, so I will have to enter a password to get root access. In the EFI folder you see two folders, boot and Debian, but after I install refined, its files will be added here as well. To install refined, use the command sudo apt install refined. Enter your password, then confirm with Y and press enter. Confirm with enter once more and refined will appear in the EFI folder. However, to see it you will have to exit the EFI directory and open it again. You can see the two new folders that the refined installation created. The last step with the terminal is to make boot entries for refined so that it appears in the UEFI boot menu and loads by default on reboot. Type the command sudo refined-install and press enter. Now we see confirmation that refined is now the default boot manager. When you are done installing refined, you can close the terminal but leave the window with the EFI folders open because we still have some work to do here. Then open the folder where the downloaded Grub file manager file is located and extract it. Now we will need to copy the all.efi file to the EFI, but for this we need to create a new folder there named Grub FM. Copy all.fe files to the Grub FM folder. I want to clarify that the difference between AA64, IA32, and X64 is mainly in the type of processor and the bit architecture they are designed for. IA32 is for 32-bit architecture and older Intel or AMD processors. Windows 11 does not work on them, so you do not need this file. If your computer has a 64-bit ARM architecture, you will only need the file grubfma64.fe. The most common computers have a PC architecture of the 64-bit version of x86. That is mine, so I will only keep the file grubfunc64.fe and delete the rest. When you are done, close the Open File Manager windows and launch the gparted application that you installed earlier. Gparted will show you all the partitions on your disk. The first partition on the left is the EFI partition on which I installed Refind and Grub FM. The second is the root partition on which the Debian operating system is located and all your files that you will lose after installing Windows, so now is the time to back up them to restore them later in Windows. It is assumed that you do not have a USB device, so I recommend using online drives such as Google Drive, OneDrive, Megapload or others. The last partition you see here is the swap partition. This partition is designed to support the computer's RAM memory under extreme loads. In my situation, however, it will be very useful to me because I need between 8 to 10 gigabytes of free space that I will take from it. To shrink the swap partition, you must first turn off swap to unlock it. After turning off swap, you will get the option to resize the partition. Shrink the swap partition by setting the free space after it. As I said, you need 8 to 10 gigabytes of space. Remember that it is not good to delete the entire partition because Debian will not boot without it. And Debian may need it again if you accidentally messed something up and find out after the reboot. Once you are done, apply the changes and you will get an empty space. From the free space, create a new partition with the exFAT file system and the label win_install. The partition name is not important for the system, but for identifying the partition later. When you are ready, don't forget to apply the changes. The next final step of preparation is to open two File Manager windows and copy the Windows installation files to the win_install partition that I created. Mount the Windows ISO file and copy all the files from it to the win_install partition. Wait patiently for the copying to complete, eject the win_install partition, and wait for confirmation that it has been ejected. Everything is ready and you can close all open windows and restart your computer. After the restart, the Refined Boot Manager will load automatically. Each of the icons you see are boot entries. Here you need to select the boot entry for the Grub File Manager and start it with Enter. In the Grub File Manager, press the F3 key. This option will show you all the UEFI boot entries and the partitions they are located on. You need to select the boot entry from the partition with the Windows installation files. In my case, it is the win_install partition, so I select it and press Enter. I want to remind you that this video is from the How to Install Windows 11 Without USB Switch from Linux video series. In the description I have included links to other popular distributions, so if you are interested you can watch. The first steps of the installation process are to select the installation language, the keyboard you will use, and its layout. On the next window, you must accept that Windows will be installed on your computer, and here you can also switch to the old version of the Windows installer. Enter your product key here, if you have one, or continue with I don't have a product key. Now select the version of Windows for which your product key is or you want to install. On this window, you can read the license terms and then continue. We have reached the most important part of the installation, where we need to specify where to install Windows. The most important thing here is not to accidentally delete the partition with the installation files, which in my case is labeled win_install and is the last one on the disk. Delete all other partitions and you will only get unallocated space. When you are ready, select the unallocated space and continue with Next. On the next window, click Install and the installation will begin. Overall, after completing this process, you will have Windows installed on your computer. You will then need to complete the post-installation process. I won't show the post-installation in real time because it's a really long process with multiple reboots, updates, and additional settings, so in the following footage you'll see the entire process, but at many of the stages the video footage will be sped up. After the actual Windows installation that just finished, the computer will restart automatically. So far everything has happened automatically, but now we have reached the point where you must first select your country or region. Now you can add another keyboard layout, as I will do by adding a Bulgarian keyboard layout. Now enter the name you want for your computer. Here, select the purpose for which you will use the computer. In the next few minutes you must wait for more updates and settings to be downloaded and installed. We have reached the point where you must log into your Microsoft account, and if you do not have one, use the option to create one. Enter the PIN with which you will log into Windows. Now select your privacy preferences. If you have any backups in OneDrive of the account you are using, they will be restored to your computer. There are still a few annoying settings with Microsoft suggestions, which of course you can accept or decline. This is the time to express my opinion that this is the most annoying Windows installer. I like Windows despite everything, but the increasing intrusion of applications and features in the installer disappoints me. But anyway, this is my opinion, and let's continue with a very important part of this video. Now that I have Windows 11 on my computer, I want to show you how to properly partition your disk. For this purpose, I will download the Mini Tool Partition Wizard application, which I have been using for a long time. I want to remind you that this video is from the How to Install Windows 11 Without USB Switch from Linux video series. In the description I have included links to other popular distributions, so if you are interested you can watch. I sincerely hope that this video is useful and interesting for you, so you can support my channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. What you need to do after installing and running Mini Tool Partition Wizard. I want to remove the partition with the Windows installation files and add this space to drive C. To do this, I will first delete the win_install partition. I am applying the changes. It is very important to be careful not to enlarge or shrink the Windows recovery partition. Simply drag it to the end of the disk and then apply the changes. After applying the changes, the free space is immediately after drive C and I can add it to it. However, for this I will not use Mini Tool Partition Wizard, but Windows Disk Manager. The reason for this is that if I use Mini Tool Partition Wizard I will have to restart the computer, while with Windows Disk Manager it happens instantly. Therefore, I close Mini Tool Partition Wizard and open Windows Disk Manager. In Windows Disk Manager, right-click on the C partition and select Extend Volume. On the next Windows, continue without changing anything and complete the process. And that's all. Now there is no trace of Debian Linux on my computer, and I did this without using a USB drive. I wish you the whole process to go as smoothly as it did for me. If there is still something that is not clear to you, do not hesitate to write in the comments, and if it is within my capabilities I will try to help you. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.